Hey everybody and welcome back. Today we're going to be going over one of my favorite Edison decks to pilot. It's also given me a lot of success in tournaments as well, and that is Quickdraw Plants. So getting right into the deck list, we have two Caius. We have a Card Trooper, we have two Dandelion, two Debris Dragon, a Gores, two Lonefire, a Plague, the full 3 Quickdraw, and Raikou. Sanyan, Mega Hamster, Tragodia, Titanial. We also have a playset of Volcanic Shell. That is the monsters. For the spells, we have 2 Book of Moon, a Brain Control, a Foolish Burial, Heavy Storm and MST, and 3 Pot of Avarice. For the traps, we have 1 Compulse, 1 Dimensional Prison, 1 Mirror Force, 2 Phoenix Wing Wind Blasts, a Torrential Tribute, and a Trap Dust Shoot. For the extra deck, we have 1 Chimera Tech for the Cyber Dragons that are in the sideboard, 2 Drill Warrior, a Turbo Warrior, a Junk Archer, a Nitro Warrior, and a Road Warrior. These are your quick draw targets. Then our Plague targets, we have just Cadister and Bryonic. For our debris targets, we have Iron Chain, Ancient Fairy Dragon, Black Rose Dragon, Red Dragon Archfiend, and 2 Stardust. And Plague can make most of these as well, just cannot make the quick draw ones. For the sideboard, we have the 2 Cyber Dragons, of course, 2 DD Crow, Neospatian Grand Mole, 2 Snowman Eater, 2 Bottomless, a second Compulse, 2 Dust Tornado, a Mind Crush, and 2 Pulling the Rug. Alright, now that you have the deck list, I can go over some combos and reasonings for card choices for people that might be new to Edison or just new to Quick Draw. So the main combo is Quick Draw plus something. So it could be a Volcanic Shell, or it could be a Dandelion. Those are going to be your best 2. So you special summon the Quick Draw from your hand by sending one of these to the graveyard. In this case, we'll send Volcanic Shell to the graveyard. Now that we have Volcanic Shell in the graveyard, we can use its effect to add another copy to hand. We can normal summon the second copy and synchro for 6. That's going to be Drill Warrior, which is our best synchro in the deck pretty much, and is the best thing Quick Draw can make in most cases. Alright, so now we can activate the second shell in graveyard, adding the third to our hand. This is really good because we started with just a Quick Draw and a Volcanic Shell, and we got to summon the Quick Draw, make a synchro, and then still have a card to pitch for the Drill Warrior's effect. He will banish, usually main phase 2, but he will banish himself by pitching, and then when he comes back in your next standby phase, you can get back any of your monsters that are in the graveyard back to your hand. So that's like the main combo with Shell. It goes pretty far. The Dandelion one's also very good. So same idea, you're going to pitch the Dandelion to special the Quick Draw. Now you're going to get 2 tokens. With these tokens, you can sync for 6 or 7. Generally you're going to pick 6, but sometimes 7 does come up. So sync one of the tokens away. We have our Drill Warrior. Now we're going to have to pitch a real card from our hand in order to trigger this. But we do that. And when he comes back, we can have the normal options we have. Like we have Quick Draw and whatever else is in our graveyard. But we have Dandelion as well. So now if we bring back Dandelion, every time we use this Drill Warrior's effect to banish himself, he's going to make 2 more tokens as blockers. So it doesn't really matter so much that he's running away, and because he's leaving you with at least 2 tokens to block with. So that is very good. Then we have, for some of the other monsters, Titanial is a Lonefire target. So the idea is if you draw a Lonefire, a lot of the times what you're doing is you're playing Lonefire, you're tributing it for another Lonefire, and you tribute that for either a Titanial is your go-to. But sometimes it does come up where you just want a Dandelion blocker because it's basically 3 blockers, and if they can't attack over all of them, You could then tribute a token for Caius or Synchro with it. But generally you want to bring out the Titanial, especially if you have something like Lone Fire plus Foolish Burial. So what that allows you to do is make your Titanial, but also have the 2 tokens out to protect it, because you can Foolish the Dandelion and then summon the Lone Fire, bring out Titanial. Now you have 2 tokens to negate 2 cards your opponent controls that target. So whether that is Caius or D-Prison or MST, you can just tribute a token, negate and destroy. Raikou even, it does quite a bit. The reason I was going Lone Fire into another Lone Fire is just to fill the grave more for Pot of Avarice. Pot of Avarice is very good in here. It's very easy to fill your grave in this deck, and you can easily activate 2 and even 3 Pot of Avarices in one game, just so long as you draw them. Obviously the Hamster, it just brings out Raikou. And I play Plague. I know most Quickdraw decks do not play this, but I liked having another Foolish target other than just Dandelion and Volcanic Shell, which are both fine targets, but this lets you get into things that Quickdraw normally can't do, which is, in my case, make a Bryonic or a Cataster. You could even trim the Drill Warrior package, or sorry, the Quickdraw package a little more, because honestly, a lot of these you don't make very often. Yes, you could make 2 Drill Warriors in one game. That does come up because one got bottomless or de-prisoned, and you need the second one. It's nice to have a level 7 target. I'm using both, as most of these decks do, because they don't normally run Plague, like I said. But you could cut a Nitro Warrior, for instance, if you want room for like Goyo Guardian or Magical Android. You could also cut a Turbo Warrior. I would probably keep the Road Warrior in and one of the 7s in, so you have a 6, at least a 6, a 7, and an 8 target for Quickdraw. This is just a vanilla beater. It does have an effect to special summon a level 2 or lower warrior or machine from your deck. We don't run any of those targets, but it's nice to have a target for 8. And it also attacks over things like Stardust and Thought Ruler. Not bad to have. Debris Dragon has several targets. So you can bring back a Card Trooper, mill 3 and then Synchro for 7. You can bring back a Lone Fire. That doesn't do too much, it just synchros for 7. Or ideally you bring back a Dandelion, synchro for 7, and you end with 2 more tokens left. And so this is especially good if you make Black Rose and clear the board. You're left with 2 tokens where they're left with nothing. That is a very solid play. And I think that's about it for the monsters. Yeah, that explains most of the monsters. For the spells, 3 Pot of Avarice. I said it's very easy to fill your grave in this deck. So, and also being able to recycle certain synchros that are at 1, like Black Rose Dragon, put that back in the extra deck so your second Debris can make that Black Rose again. Or maybe your Drill Warriors are gone, you can put them back. Maybe your Titanial died, you can put back Titanials and Lone Fires. So both parts of this card are good. Drawing 2 is always good, I don't need to explain that. But the recycling cards is also good. Brain Control is something they don't always play, but I am playing Plague Spreader. And the reason they don't always play it is because with Brain Control, you can't really generally synchro with your opponent's monster with a Debris or a Quickdraw, unless their monster is level 3 or lower. And a lot of times with Brain Control, you're taking something a little larger. But you do have the 2 Caius, and that's a nice play. You just Brain Control their guy, tribute it for Caius. Sure. In desperate times, you can tribute for Quickdraw Synchron. That's fine. But in this deck, we also have Plague Spreader. So it's pretty easy to get access to Plague Spreader with the Foolish or with all the milling. And yeah, you take their level 4 or their level 6 and you make a Bryonic or a Stardust, something like that. Not bad. The Foolish Burial, I already explained, that is for Dandelion primarily. It can also set up your Volcanic Shell if you have a Quickdraw in hand, or a Phoenix Wind Wing Blast in hand. So it basically adds a monster to your hand. But then also, yeah, Plague is a little bonus target we have. Trap Dust Shoot, Torrent, Mirror Force, D-Prison, these are just good cards. The Compulse I really like because a lot of decks are making Absolute Zero, and this is a semi-clean out. It's a one card trade to Absolute Zero, and what's nice is it doesn't leave a water E-Hero in their graveyard to use with another Miracle Fusion, so it cleans it up pretty well. You are going to lose any monsters you have on the field to Absolute Zero's effect. A lot of times you can just set that up in a way where, oh, I'm just losing one guy, or that one guy is a Dandelion or a Card Trooper or a Sangan, something like that. Or I just don't have any monsters because I banished my Drill Warrior, and now when I bounce your Ab-Zero, I'm not even really losing anything, so that's a nice trade. Wing Blast, a little more versatile, but does have the cost, which we try to mitigate by pitching either Dandelion or Volcanic Shell or Plague whenever we can. Sometimes you do have to discard a real card, but the fact that this can bounce monsters or back row, it's very nice. You can keep your opponent's board very empty between things like Raikou, Caius, Wing Blast, and Compulse. So you're just keep pushing in it with no resistance. Sideboard, this is for heroes mainly. I also tend to side this in against things that run Christia or Fossil Dyna, just as having an additional out to those cards is pretty good. Grand Mole is going to be an even cleaner out to Ab-Zero than a Compulse, because you don't really lose anything. If this is your only monster and you're bouncing this back, well, they lose their Absolute Zero, but its effect doesn't kill anything, and you still have this this Neospatian Grand Mole to keep using future. DD Crow, pretty self-explanatory, right? You want to side this in against decks that are Light Sworn, or maybe they run a lot of Pop Avarice and Debris like this. It's okay against things like Vayu. It comes in a lot of matchups, honestly. Cyber Dragon, so it's sort of in the sideboard for machines. Contacting over a Fortress Dragon, or into a what is the Machina Fortress? Sorry, into a Fortress Dragon is a very good play. Sometimes you're left with a 2,000 or 3,000 beater on top of clearing their board with just a Cyber Dragon. But also, what's nice is you can put these in against things like Hero Beat, Gladiators, Blackwings, anything where you just want a beater that doesn't even take up your normal summon. So if it gets Bottomless or Icarus, or if it just dies in battle to a Kalut or an Honest, you're not overly invested. You still have your normal summon. You could still maybe make a Synchro, maybe you could just set a Raikou. Still have options through the Cyber Dragon. Then I don't set any spells, but this is generally for Monarchs. It can be good against decks that, say, run Deep Sea Diva and Caius, or maybe they run Caius and Debris Dragon. It comes up in matchups that aren't Monarchs, and that's why I think it's worth citing, even though it is for Monarchs. Mind Crush is going to be for things... I like it against things that run Gold Sarcophagus. Maybe they're tutoring out Future Fusion, and when the Future Fusion gets added, you're just like, no. You cannot resolve Future Fusion. In particular, if Dragons resolve a Future Fusion, or a less popular deck, but Jinzo Returner, if either of those decks resolve a Future Fusion, you're in bad shape. So it's nice to just have something to pluck that away. We also have 2 Dust Tornado, comes up against back row decks, right? So Blackwings, it's fantastic. It can hit their Whirlwind or their Icarus attack. Gladiator Beast, it can target their Chariot if you know which one it is, or just clear out a back row to hope your summons go off and you can clear their monsters that way. Hero Beat, it's obviously going to be good. Also, anything you think is going to main or side Royal Oppressions, that card could be very powerful against this deck, especially when you don't have Raikou. So it's nice to have an extra layer to deal with things like that. Second Compulse, clears Absolute Zero, clears Stardust Dragon, which is really good. But also, you can just do tempo swings where your opponent sends a Raikou or a Hamster for their turn, and you just bounce it. before you attack, and they're basically back a turn. You are technically down a card, but they're back a turn, which can be way more brutal. Bottomless, this is going to be for things where you don't want their monsters to stick, right? So Blackwings, you don't want their monsters to stick, especially if they have a Whirlwind. GBs, you normally don't want their monsters to stick. They can kind of play around this with setting their monsters if they're going for the Geyseris play, but this does at least trade with Geyseris. And it banishes it too, so they can't like Darius it back or Call the Haunted it back, something like that. And then also things like Christia. I do like to have this as an option. And Amaryllis plants, they make a lot of Titanials and Amaryllis, and this deals with those pretty nicely. This is not target, and it banishes them, so in the case of Amaryllis, they're not going to be able to reoccur it without like DDR. Yeah, so that's the explanation of the main and side, and I think I explained the extra as well. Like I said, you can potentially trim down on this 1 to 2 cards as long as you're keeping in the Drill Warriors. Those are a must. The level 8, it comes up and you want to have a level 8 target, and at least one of the level 7s. So I think you could cut a level 7, probably Nitro Warrior, and I think you could cut Turbo Warrior if you do want to play something like Goyo or Magical Android or some other card you think I need room for. Yeah, that is it. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, and we will see you in the next video.